I've got Mackenzie burnett, the CEO of Ambrook, here with me to talk a little bit. I've got a few questions for her. Mackenzie, thanks so much for joining me.
Thanks so much, Jared. It's great to be here.
Yeah. So, I've been seeing Ambrook all over the place and hearing about Ambrook all over the place. And actually the week before this conversation of ours is released, we'll have just released a conversation with Jacob Gilley, who talks quite a bit about his use of Ambrook. And, he kind of talked about his record keeping software, which is something that is really intriguing to me. I feel like a lot of people, maybe their eyes might glaze over at the idea of record keeping, but to me, it's fascinating because I so badly want to get better at it. But I'm just curious as a start, kind of from you, what got you into the idea of, starting a program like this, like Ambrook? What's kind of the origin story for it?
Yeah, totally. Well, Ambrook was built to give exactly for this purpose you're talking about with record keeping. You kind of want, a lot of people don't love it, but they know that they need to do it. It was really built to give ranchers and farmers and a lot of different agribusinesses financial clarity without the complexity. And I think most ranchers didn't go into this work to become bookkeepers, but their livelihoods really depend on good financial decisions.
Right.
Especially in commodity markets, right? And so I started Ambrook after I worked at a organization that managed a lot of agricultural and water assets in the California Central Valley. I worked over the summer when I was in grad school, and I just saw, that summer just saw how hard it was for producers to get a really clear picture of what's working and what's not, especially when information, the critical data is kind of scattered across notebooks and spreadsheets and receipts. And yes, you might have software that you put it in, but very few people, I think, have the time to maintain that at the level that might be needed to do some pretty complex financial analysis. And so Amber tries to make that level of insight really simple and accessible while keeping track of a lot of the different paperwork. So we don't tell ranchers what to decide, but we do try to help them see their numbers really clearly in real time, so they're enabled to make decisions faster and smarter.
Yeah. It's interesting, like something that gets talked about a lot on this podcast. And I'm not sure if you've ever heard of the Ranching for Profit School. It's brought up probably more than any other resource on the podcast, and something they talk a lot about. And we discuss in this is the idea of like enterprise analysis and making sure, you're not running a bunch of enterprises and maybe one of them is profitable and another one is sucking all the profit away and one's break even or something like that. And so I'm not sure if that's something that you guys work with a lot or have tried to design as a way, like, I think that's a challenge with a lot of us is figuring out how to properly do good enterprise analysis and figure out which enterprises really are the cash generators and which are the dead, what do they call them? Dead branches? Dead weight, or I forget what the Ranching for Profit term is. Something about, Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's okay. Actually, it's funny you mention RFP because as soon as I heard about it a couple of years ago, and as soon as I heard about it, my team was really small then. But we actually sent a couple of team members, including my co-founder, who's our head of product, and my co-founder Dan, and then a woman on our team named Micah, to go, who was working with a ton of our customers at the time, to go and actually go to the school for a week.
Yeah.
And it was a couple of years ago, and it really informed how we thought about building out the product, and especially in thinking about building out the ability to do enterprise analysis natively rather than something that you're expected to do outside of your books in a spreadsheet or something.
Sure.
So the way, and you're absolutely right, the reason why enterprise analysis is so tricky is because not only do a lot of farms have multiple business lines or multiple enterprises, but those enterprises can subsidize each other.
Right.
So you might have your hay enterprise, which is, which has a lot of activity on it, like buying and selling, but also you're feeding hay to your cattle enterprise, right? And you want to be able to flow those costs through. And I think when I first started to dig into this problem, and we really started, honestly, before we wrote a line of code, we talked to dozens and dozens of farmers and ranchers, anyone who would talk to us during the pandemic.
Sure.
Which is, that was tricky. You couldn't just show up somewhere and talk to people in person. But we talked to a ton of people and just asked them what their top of mind problems were. And the thing that came up over and over again was paperwork and getting a sense of true cost of production, or this enterprise analysis.
Yeah.
And I think the thing that I was really impressed by really early on was I was like, wow, like, these farms they're complicated enough where if it was a startup, you probably would have hired a CFO to understand what's going on.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and I think that's exactly It is. People grow up on farms. It's part of life, but they maybe don't think about the fact that we're operating oftentimes multi-million dollars, if not tens of millions of dollar businesses with crazy amounts of assets that are under management. And so, yeah, it should require a certain level of, a CFO probably if it was any other business of some sort.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I talk a lot about how, and this is, it's a little bit jargony, but since I think I've listened to a couple of episodes of your podcast, and you can get into more of the financial technical. So let me know if this is too much. But
No,
we
please.
talk a lot about how what Ambrook is really building for are these businesses, farms and ranches are archetypes of multi P&L, but also balance sheet heavy businesses.
Sure.
And when you have like balance sheet heavy, being you have a lot of assets, you have like a complex asset liability structure, right? Multi P&L, meaning you have all these enterprises, but you also have all these entities, right? You have different locations, you have all these,
Right.
projects you might be tracking, funding sources. And that level of complexity is, again, if it was a startup, you'd be running like $100,000
Yeah.
ERPs,
Right.
right? So it's definitely not easy to be able to track all that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm curious. I like to joke. My brother is a software engineer, and he stole all the technological intelligence from our family and left me with none of it. So, for folks like me who aren't maybe the most technologically advanced or aren't used to working with programs and stuff like that, I mean, has that been something you've worked to design something that's fairly user friendly and good systems, at least to help people learn, if not?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think if we've done our job right, Ambrook, we did it in a couple of ways. One, if it takes more than a couple of clicks to do, basic workflows or even workflows that you're doing more often, we've done our job wrong. Like we
Yeah,
try, and we get feedback from users constantly on how to stream a lot of that. I think the second principle that we had in designing the software was you shouldn't have to take a class to
mm,
be able to know how to use it.
yeah,
And so we've done a ton of effort, and we're constantly improving this, but a ton of effort to build in a lot of in-product education. And then when you do have questions, we have a US based support team who is just there to be able to answer anything that folks need. We offer free onboardings for folks coming onto the
cool.
platform to help you get set up kind of in real time with someone, like kind of face to face over a video call. So really put an effort into that. But I
Yeah,
think the two biggest things that folks say they really love about Ambrook is one, just ease of use and being able to get understanding of their numbers that they hadn't been able
yeah.
to get real time understanding of before. And then second is just a really excellent support experience.
Man, yeah, two very, very important parts. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
That's good. Is there anything that you guys are working on continuing to go forward, improve, or is it kind of, I mean, got everything that you're looking for?
No, I mean, honestly, just I think constantly listening to users and there's tons of stuff that we want to continue to build. Right now, we're making it even easier to track by enterprise by building out inventory. That's a really big feature that we're working on alongside
Right.
a lot of producers. We have something called a design partner program. So some of our producers are design partners, and that they get early access to a lot of beta features that we're building and get to basically help us design, give us really tight feedback where we prioritize a lot of their use cases. So that has been so awesome, honestly, being able to
Yeah.
build alongside a lot of our producers for a lot of this. But yeah, inventory is a big one we're working on. And then running payroll as well, like natively. You can run payroll in your own system, but we want to be able to make it
Sure.
something that is native to the software too.
Cool. Well, that's awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing a little bit about it and answering some questions. For folks who might be interested in Ambrook or learning more about it, they can check out ambrook.com. That's ambrook.com/ranching returns. And that'll get you 1 free month or 30-day trial to Ambrook. Mackenzie, again, thanks so much for joining me.
Thanks, Jared.
Awesome.